Welcome to Beyond Brave. I'm Kyla, and here's where we dive into stories of hope, bravery, and laughter. Millions followed our journey with my daughter Bella, but now it's time to go beyond the headlines and highlight reels to those raw, real moments I haven't shared anywhere else. So are you ready to go beyond brave? Let's dive in.
But if you want it to be perfect, you can make it perfect.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond Brave. I'm going to have a little intro for our special guests today, as we are also guests for them on this double pod. So we are going to welcome all of you back to Beyond Brave. And today I'm sitting down, Lyle and I are sitting down with Ashlyn and Ashley from the Parent Empowerment Network for a real important conversation. Their platform is all about being that first line of support for parents when they first learn their child needs medical care, helping them process, find their footing, and step into advocacy. They both also host Empowered by Hope podcast, which I had the honor of being a guest on in 2024. And today we are flipping the script. Ashlyn and Ashley are interviewing Lyle and I. So we're diving deep into marriage, medical parenting, and the tough, real moments that come with both. So let's get into it. Welcome and hello.
Hey guys, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you guys too.
It's nice to meet you too. We're Ashley and Ashlyn, so it's like really funny. We're going to try not to echo each other like creepy friends, but
Okay.
we're very excited to do this. So thank you for that great introduction, Kyla.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to add a small bit onto it because you nailed
Definitely.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a twofer. It's pretty cool. This is our first. That sounds kind of funny that we're talking about marriage. I'm like, this is my first experience with a twofer. Let me just go there right away. Anyway, so we are super excited about this conversation, but I want to back up really quickly because I first joined the Thompson family fan club. Back in, it was probably like December of 2023, I think is what my notes said. And it was because I saw a video of Kyla and Bella doing a rap. And I was so blown away and decided, I was like, that is one of the coolest kid things I have ever seen happen. And just went down the whole rabbit hole, as most people do when they interact with any of your videos. And then Kyla, I reached out to you and I was like, is there any chance that I could actually get you to come on our podcast? And it was my first real freak out moment for our podcast because you said yes. And I was like, there's no way she's going to respond. And you did. And not only did you come on Empowered by Hope and deliver a great message, but it was a really deep connection point, at least for me, when you and I talked about the experience of realizing how important your advocacy is for your child to the depths of protecting your child's actual health, like how heavy that weight is, and that it's not just picking good doctors and good providers. We talked about what that experience was to kind of have those rose-colored glasses of finding the great expert pulled off and realizing, no, I still have to be super involved and really speak up for my child for them to get the best care as possible. And that just always really stuck with me. I learned so much from our episode. And so, of course, we continued to follow your story and just really just wanted to be your cheerleaders is kind of how we've seen it. Just love your family, your platform. Not gonna get emotional on this one, but
that means a lot. Thank you very much. Like, we can't, Bella and I always, and Lyle, of course, we always knew we couldn't do this without our community like you guys.
No, none of us
the
can.
pillars.
And so
We're
that
not
was in
supposed to.
2023 that you reached out?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that it wasn't sooner, like that you would have crossed your algorithm, considering your background.
Okay, so you are looking at somebody who appreciates that people use tech, but like I have a natural allergy to it. So just things online beyond the basics.
Yeah.
I'm like so far behind. So
I'm the same. Lyle will always he'll always tell people that he's like, you have these major social platforms and you don't know how to use a Word doc or transfer a PDF. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my life is a lot of trial by error, and then eventually getting to where I need to with a lot of help.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward though, we of course followed your story, and then just inspired is the best word I can think of when I think about your family and just Bella's legacy. I mean, the fact that you all are still shining her light so brightly, somehow even more brightly, I feel like, through Beyond Brave.
Aw.
Thank you.
That's such a beautiful example of how even when we lose our loved ones,
Mhm.
we don't have to lose them, and that they, the power of their love and their light that they shine into the world is just an incredible thing. And you allow all of us to soak up that sunshine. And so that's why it just means a lot to have you all here. And also the reason that we picked the topic for today is because I've like idolized you guys as a family.
I have to add, Ashlyn's a super,
Not like a creeper
if there
way.
is a super fan, Ashlyn's a super fan. So she told me all about you guys, and I love your podcast and all the things. But she is, you guys are such an inspiration, and it's really cool that you're doing what you're doing, and you're so real, and I love that. I think that's not common anymore, maybe, but it should be. So.
Yeah. It should be. Yeah.
That
And
means a
so
lot.
what you're looking at right now is, it's perfect how we're lined up on the screen. Like we've got married Kyla and Lyle. And then Ashley and I, we became each other's medical spouses in a sense.
Aw.
Like we totally fell into the common path of our husbands, the fathers of our children. We're not like a weird like sister wives family going on. We got our own families, own children, own diagnoses.
I was like, wait.
I was
What are
like,
we
yeah, let me
asking?
make sure there's some clarity here.
What are we talking about today? Juicy.
But like she and I both really leaned on each other, and our husbands were supportive in their own ways. But what we kind of experienced is that our husbands had such different coping mechanisms than we did, that it created challenges throughout our experience. And I'm not saying that in like a mean way whatsoever. Like just genuinely, it was a lot harder, at least for me personally. Ashley, I'll let you speak to it. That while it was so difficult navigating my daughter Emery's medical needs, and especially her pain and fear that she experienced that I could not prevent, that was the hardest part. But probably the second hardest part was how isolated I personally became within my own marriage. And it was not because of lack of caring or trying. It was just, we were reading two separate books in two different languages, and it made the road rocky. And I'm really grateful that we came through it, and we're still, working on growing from that. But I have looked at your marriage, and I was telling Ashley, I was like, they just seem to have it going on. And I want to know more about it, and I want to shut up and let them share how they managed and protected their marriage. So Ashley, why don't you kick us off with telling our listeners how we're going to warm up this conversation with a fun little game.
Okay.
Oh.
So has everyone probably has heard of the Mr. and Mrs. the Shoe Game. So we're going to ask some silly questions, and Kyla and Lyle are going to hold up a shoe. So,
That's what
and then,
you're
and then,
She baked good
yes,
ones.
I love that. Those are beautiful and fancy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm
Yes.
like, okay, these are like my fanciest shoes, and I hope I get the name right. It's Lanterval. Lanterval is,
They're beautiful.
and I had these gifted to me for a gala I did. I was invited to for the David Foster Foundation, and these shoes don't get to, shine their bright, fancy light a lot. Hence, like, what I'm wearing today, my cozy match sweatpants. And I'm like, these will be the perfect shoes because they don't get out of my
But
closet.
I like that they do match your hair. Your hair is so
It's beautiful.
and then you throw on a
You got a shoe game and hair game.
So like Lyle and I call it my big hair days because I recently got hair extensions, and my hair is already thick to begin with. And so the only way I can not take 100 hours to curl it is heatless curls. So I always get my heatless curls up in my big silk bonnet and sleep overnight. And Lyle's like, oh, it's going to be a big hair day.
That's awesome.
But then it
It's
lasts.
just funny because the juxtaposition
Yeah.
compared to like your
What I'm wearing.
sweatsuit
Yeah,
and like your evening.
I love it.
My evening hair.
I love it.
It's
That's
rocking.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you put these on, you'd be top to bottom, like
I'd be
dressed
like
up.
a fancy, sweaty sandwich. Like
Yeah.
A fancy sweaty.
fancy sweatpants, fancy.
I love it. I love it. All right.
That's awesome. Okay, Kyle, now you have to introduce your
Yes.
shoes.
What shoes are you
Or
gonna?
Lyle. I knew I was going to do that.
Oh,
I knew was gonna switch
I
them.
just brought the one pair, so he had one and I have one.
No, that's perfect. But I was going to say,
Okay.
what shoe does? Oh, I see. So you'll either.
Lyle has my other half.
All right.
Okay.
So
We're gonna do these.
You're gonna have to explain the game
Yeah.
for people listening and myself.
yes. So we are going to ask you some silly questions, and then you would hold up the shoe that, like, if let's say we ask you a question and you both choose Kyla, then you would hold up the Kyla shoe. Or if you think that really it's Lyle, then you would hold up the Lyle shoe. So yeah, let's do the pink sneaks. That's
Whoopsie.
perfect.
So there
Okay,
it goes.
Oh,
Kyla
my
doesn't get
goodness.
the game
I don't play the
either.
game.
She only gave out one shoe.
This is a
Okay.
I'll be
we're-
Bella's shoe.
We'll use
That's
Bella's
perfect.
shoe.
Oh, that's
for-
perfect.
Okay, so
Okay.
the answer
So-
is, if you both
okay.
feel like the answer is Lyle, hold up the Bella shoe. And if you feel like it's Kyla,
Okay.
then hold up the super fancy, stunning shoe from the gala.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So first question for practice round. Who is more likely to bring home a random pet?
Oh, wrong. Yeah. Likely she's proven it.
I've
I
done
love
several
it.
times.
What did you bring home? We have to know.
What dog,
I found.
fish,
He found a
hamsters,
fish.
I always like to say our first cat. Like we live on an acreage.
3 cats. Yeah, I've never planned for one of them. I've had a game plan going into these pets.
It's a great first.
I just kibosh chickens so far.
I
and
really wanted chickens for a while, and he won't let
I
me.
want them to.
But I found out like as I'm like in the background trying, I'm like, I'm gonna get my chickens, and then I'm like, oh, this is gonna cost a lot of money versus like a stray cat that I found like really one day.
No, and the fear, actually, you can get them, but I don't know what are you going to do with them over the winter? I don't. It's minus 30.
Oh,
out.
yeah.
I know.
Doghouse? I don't know.
all these things. But yeah, fish for sure, cats, dogs. Well, the dog, I kind of prepped you for our one dog.
No, Rocky?
No? Yeah,
No,
Rocky.
He just showed up.
He
So
showed up.
yeah, Kyla's
I love
definitely
it.
bringing.
I
it.
Okay.
love it.
Perfect.
That was the warm-up question. We don't need to do a
Okay.
deep dive on our pets.
Okay.
All right. We'll move to the next one. We'll talk about the cats another episode.
There was
you
a
go.
mouse at one point too, just by the way.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk about that for sure, at least after the show.
Okay.
All right. Who was the first to make a move?
Me, I think, probably.
Yeah, you kissed me on the dance floor.
Oh,
I
I
think that
love
was the
that.
move.
Oh, yeah, that counts as a
That's nice.
move.
Yeah.
That's kind of my
I
move.
love that. That's awesome.
That's your go-to move.
Yep.
Hey, I like you.
That was-
Kiss. I mean,
That was you. Yeah, yeah. I was trying to think if there's something.
I like
before that.
decisive. Very very
I love
clear. That's a
that.
good one.
All right. Who's more stubborn?
Ooh.
Oh.
Love when that happens.
I should have said you, or I should have said myself, and it'd be like, well, wait, would the guy that's stubborn say himself? And then it would be clearly like, well, maybe it is Kyla then. So
I
if,
like
you're,
it.
if you're not watching it, we disagree, and we said the other person.
He likes to play
Yes.
devil's advocate a lot too, so there's that background.
Yeah, I contradict myself a lot,
I
though,
love that.
unfortunately.
I'm liking the dynamic. Okay. Oh, we might already have our answer based on the who made the first move. Who is the bigger flirt?
Oh, flirt.
Kyla.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Balance.
I love that.
Well, I think
Yeah.
you're just more playful. So
Yeah.
that's how
Okay,
we
yeah, that counts.
All right.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Who is more
we'll say Kyla. Yeah.
who is more likely to deal with the spider in the house? Or something creepier if you're into spiders.
That'd be me, right?
I would force him into that.
Yeah. Kyla's saying me,
Very
and I'm saying me too. I think it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you do some pretty crappy jobs, though, right? Just like draw the line.
What do you mean? Sometimes if there's like a larger spider that I'm not scared of, I'll get the cup and I'll get the paper and I'll put them out on the deck and I'm nice
Oh,
about
that's
it.
good.
I think you're just
Oh.
worried that you're just worried, yeah, because I won't handle it the same way as you.
Right.
Yeah, because you'll like smash it and flush it. I'm like,
So you'll try to save
want
it and
that
turn it into a pet.
Unless I'm really scared. If I'm really scared, then like, no way, man.
Yeah.
All right. This is our last question for this round. Who is always right?
Ooh.
Ooh. Thank you. I usually am right. Kyla said me, and I usually am right.
See what I'm dealing with? There was
I'm
no
quite
way
good
I
that
could
way.
put up this shoe and back myself up.
Kyla's correct.
Oh, we wanted that to be a little
Kyla's always
fun.
right.
I love that.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Okay, that's it for the shoe game. We thought it would just be a fun little way to warm up.
I
with you
love
two.
that. I totally
good.
thought it was going to be one of those ones where like we have to close our eyes and then you ask us a question and we put up like,
We thought about doing that, but with us all like looking at each other like
This
this on
one's
the
easier.
podcast, we figured this would work. So
much easier.
you guys
yeah.
were excellent participants.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
this next section, we've got 2 questions for this. And you are going to answer for about each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ashley, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So, and you can pick whoever goes first. What is Lyle for Kyla or Kyla for Lyle? What is your love? What is the other person's love language?
Oh, mine is okay. So I'll go first.
You're saying
You're
Yeah,
what?
answering for Lyle.
Yeah.
You're saying, what is Lyle's love language?
Yes, we've read this book. We've done a little counseling with this book. I can't remember all of them.
Uh-huh.
I think there's like 5.
Yes.
Yeah,
When you
the
said you read the
Gottman,
book,
mhm.
was it like the first 5-10 pages,
No,
just like every other
stop
book?
it. I'm
The Cliff
I'm
Notes
terrible at
version.
well,
Yeah.
reading puts me to sleep like so fast. So I like barely read. But
You
anyway,
listen to it, maybe.
I feel like yours, like from what I remember, yours is definitely gifting. Whereas I believe mine is, I'm not supposed to answer.
Yeah,
Is he
don't,
supposed
let's
to?
see what
Yeah,
let's see
okay,
what
okay.
Lyle thinks yours is.
I feel like yours is gifting.
Yours is words of affirmation.
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
good job,
It is.
guys.
And I'm
Well,
so,
no, because Kyla got mine wrong.
I was about to say,
So,
wait, let's.
no, good job across the board.
Good job, Lyle.
I feel like
I'm
I'm
so
always.
media today.
I feel like you get so annoyed with like words of affirmation. So I'm like, that's no way it's yours.
I kind of like that too, but I'm gifting. No, I don't.
Like things, like stuff.
Things?
No, oh my
No,
gosh, no,
God.
it's not. It's
It's like-
touch. It's touch. Oh, where's my brain?
What
yours,
is that?
personal touch.
Ooh,
Like,
I didn't even know that was one.
isn't it one?
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, physical touch. Mhm.
Physical touch.
So you know that.
Personal touch.
Hmm.
Physical touch. Not
Physical touch. So this is maybe where we've had some issues in the past where I've thought it was gifting and it's physical touch and I've got it so wrong.
Well, the gifting thing kind of does. Yeah, no. It's not
Maybe I
gifting at
think
all.
it's gifting because I also like gifting.
So you just put it on me.
This is really
I
fun.
do, probably by accident. I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry.
So,
That's
Lyle,
okay.
what would you say yours
you
is?
tried your best.
What is, let's confirm what yours is.
I don't know. I think it's words of affirmation too. No? What was that?
I just like 100% it's physical touch, but also if my number one is words of affirmation, then
Well,
I
if
feel
it-
like
if
you
it-
don't understand words of affirmation.
That's true. No, I just forget.
Yeah.
But when I'm quizzed, I remember, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is right. Yeah.
What are the other ones? Do you guys know the other ones?
So I like acts of service is like one of the is
Quality
one. I know that's
time.
my husband.
Right?
Yes. I think that's the other
Ooh,
one.
Acts of service. That might be mine.
Maybe it is. Like dishes and trash
Right.
and
Mhm.
cleaning.
Taking care of the car,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, acts of service. That might be more than I think words of affirmation for you.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, that's a good reminder. That's a good reminder.
it is a good reminder because
Yeah.
I don't always think of yours when I.
Words of affirmation.
And
Words of
isn't it
affirmation.
very common that
We're gonna send
you'll
Cliff
do-
notes after this.
I think it's common that you'll do the thing that you
Yes.
is your love language to appease them,
Right.
and it's like you're missing
Yeah.
the mark. Like
Yeah.
I'll do
Yeah.
all the dishes and cleaning. I'll do all that stuff, and you
That's-
don't give a shit half the time.
I'm just like, oh,
That's so
It's
my
like the-
household.
yeah.
yeah. I'm
And
like,
you think, well, why
yeah.
didn't you appreciate that? Well, that's because that's not what I need you to like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Oh.
Me and my husband talk about that all the time. I'm like, I don't think the same as you. And it's hard to remember that, like,
Right.
they might need something different, you know?
Yeah.
Right. So this is a little reminder for everybody.
Yeah.
Check out the
Yeah.
love languages. Okay, this is
Yeah.
our first tidbit of real helpful information. There's like little there's quizzes online that are free
They're really
and fast. But remember, your love language that's your responsibility to communicate what your need is to feel loved. It's not learn your love language so that you can tell your other partner, when I do this, this means you're loved by me. So accept it, because that doesn't actually go over.
Or
well.
like expect them to telepathly.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
To
The
your
whole
wishes.
mind reading thing doesn't really
Yeah,
work.
no.
It would be great if it
Tried
did
a lot. Right. To a point. Okay, next question. I feel like it's good to move to the next one. What are each other like? So, what would you say is the other's greatest strength?
Go ahead.
I'm just distracted by the construction that's happening in the background. Is
All
there
good.
like someone like shoveling snow where you guys are at? Or...
Yeah,
Do you
let's
hear
go.
that? Do you
Yeah,
hear
I do hear that. Oh,
Oh.
Oh, I don't hear it here. Do you guys?
I think my neighbor's doing their yard, cutting their grass. I'm so sorry. Can
She's
y'all
in
hear
South
that?
Carolina.
cutting their grass. Where
No,
do you live?
South
Yeah,
Carolina.
wait, you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
I know, right?
That's funny because we thought snowblower.
Oh my
which
gosh,
made
I'm
a
so
lot of sense.
sorry. I'm so
Yeah, that's
sorry
why I
I
had
didn't
to-
hear that. I'll mute it.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
So, sorry, the question again, what
What is your greatest strength?
is our greatest strength for each other or for ourselves?
Yeah. So, like, what would you say is one of Lyle's greatest strengths?
Oh, okay. Greatest strength, because I rely on this so much. His ability to manage our savings and our finances is huge for me, because I'm either a chipmunk or I'm just clueless. Like, you ever ask me to do taxes, it's just like I just can't.
But you're kind of you could
I would run
replace
away
me
from
with
home.
like just an admin.
I can.
It doesn't- you don't need to be a husband to do that.
Well, I mean, I got a good one that does. So I'm like, don't ever like. That's a really good
That feels
strength of yours.
replaceable, though.
I feel like I would be. If I feel like I'm just like terrible with it. It's like how old am I? I'm like 42, and I'm still just like, every time I get like my license bill in the mail for my car registration, I'm just like, what is this? What do I got to pay this for? What is this again? And it's like, okay, we're on year 40 of this or whatever.
40 or whatever.
No, see, my math. Also, his strength is in math, because I get my driver's license at 16. So
Oh,
42 minus 16. So that's another one of your strengths. Math, finances, like keeping just like your entrepreneurship. I probably just can't pick one. He's got a lot of strengths.
Oh,
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
sweet.
strengths. Your entrepreneurship, our savings, our it's really it's shining bright to me right now, because as a medical family, like with Bella, we had to go through 10 years of that. And so you take anybody in the States, for example, like we're in Canada, and the medical, like the financial burden with that of having a medical life for 10 years.
well, it'd be navigating insurance and the
Navigating
complexities
insurance.
of all that would be.
Yes.
We never really we didn't have to do much of that sort of stuff. It was more tax sort of things, but
Yeah, but still,
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
there's so much I know that you know more than me, because I'll have other medical moms be like, how did you get funding for this, or how did you get support for that? And I'm like, I always have to go and ask you and be like, how did you make this happen, and that sort of thing. And I think that's been really important for our livelihood and our ability to function without that level of stress.
That's huge.
Kyla's
Kyla, is
greatest-
it fair to, well, Lyle, actually, I'm curious for you, like, is it fair to maybe even break that down to just like you being more methodical, more strategic? Like, are you more
Yeah.
like a very like practical mindset? Like, do you feel like, is that what you bring to the relationship? Because I'm kind of curious, because
No,
you
I
were
would-
like, you could totally replace me with an accountant.
I think a lot of it's just based out of necessity. I know it's not going to happen from somebody has to do it. It's a little bit of, just like Kyla was thrown into her role as a medical mom, I was thrown into my role as everything outside of that, which was fine. I mean, but you basically had to take your role, because otherwise it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
I would say Kyla's biggest strength is her ability to just kind of get up and go, be a bit of like, her positivity really is number one. With what we've went through for the last 11 years and what we're definitely going through right now with grief and everything. Her and Waylon, because Waylon and Kyla are basically the same person, and
My little mini me.
they can be a lot at times, but it's so
It's like a Tigger and Eeyore relationship. Waylon and I are Tiggers.
yeah. And Bella and I, what you wouldn't expect it, but she was a lot like me with being like an
Piglet
Eeyore,
and
like
Eeyore.
yeah. But she kind of, and Waylon as well, has the ability to snap me out of my funk like nobody else, and they can be really annoying, but that's my fault, because like you need to be snapped out of it. You need to have someone to basically be the opposite at moments.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's your biggest strength for sure, your positivity and your like attitude.
That's awesome.
I like that.
Something that I can't just replace
Thanks,
with
computer.
somebody I can just hire, you know. Well, at least I can't hire somebody to be that for me. You can.
But think of this. So if she could hire anybody, she still chooses you. I mean, that actually says a lot, right? Kind of like.
Oh, right.
Right.
And I am not a great accountant or financial planner.
Thank you.
Which, as much as you think I am, but like just any of it is good.
I feel like we're gonna have to unpack this later. So for the sake of that, maybe I should pick something that's not replaceable. I would say if I could pick a strength that I know 100% is not replaceable, it would be your ability to see my side, see my side through the immense amount of pain.
Wow. That's
And
huge.
that has been everything I need. Like I honestly, of course I've lived in hospital. I've seen other single moms with their medical kiddos, but like single moms in general, like, and you know, I think it's just the way it is that it's just a higher percentage of moms that are there side by side with the kids. And Lyle has proven every statistic or, you know, everything wrong about medical dads for me. So yeah.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a huge
Thanks for-
compliment.
Thanks for keeping me around, sticking around, loving me.
What am I supposed to say that? Like, you're welcome. Are you just waiting for me to throw a compliment back over the fence?
No.
I didn't get that feel from her at all. Like now I feel like I'm like, oops, did we just put ourselves as referees? Ashley, I heard nothing but love from both of you. That was
It was
really
definitely
sweet.
love, and
Great job.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm still here.
Okay, let's all right, good job, you two.
It's always hard to explain because I'm very like mushy gushy, and I sometimes find it hard to explain. Like
I
I'm
understand.
such
I'm
an
like that.
empath, but thankfully Lyle is like, he knows he's not, but he doesn't like he makes fun of me versus like just be like, you're crazy. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Oh.
It's not judgy. It's like silly making fun of you. Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Kyla has a thick skin. That's probably number 2. She can.
Yeah.
She can
I can
the
take it.
abuse.
I can take it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. All right. So Ashley, do you think I think we're at a good point I feel like they've given us some really good insights into what your relationship does look like. I already feel like I know a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected you two to be such opposites as you like, but in a balanced way. That surprised me a little bit. Actually made me feel better. Because you can tell in my household, very like my husband and I are like, if you take any of those personality tests, like whatever he is, I'm the exact opposite. Like we never line up on anything.
Yeah.
And but balanced, like that means that you can actually be super strong if you learn to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, I think identifying the value in that, having to
Right. And remembering why that was attractive to you at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the keys that I didn't realize in a relationship, the things you're usually drawn to that are different from you.
Yeah.
That after a while you have to remember or intentionally choose to remind yourself why those were appealing instead of starting to find them super annoying that they're different from you.
Yeah, mostly
Or-
they push you out of your comfort zone,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
could sit and you live on a farm and I could be out here for 2 weeks by myself. And I know it's not healthy.
Or I was going to say too, versus like, hell bent on making them more like
Right.
you, right? Like that has a lot of negatives to it, and you don't want to do that either. So.
Yeah, you can kind of go in that direction, then you just like,
Yeah.
wait, there's a reason why I'm with them, and
Yeah,
that's
they're
sort of
not-
like
Yeah.
it's way healthier.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ashley, what do you think? Should we dive into this is just going to be more conversation now. Like you're done with like the quizzing questions. You don't need to go to marital counseling. In our opinion, you two are doing great. But let's just have a conversation that we were thinking about what could we gain from your all's experience and wisdom that we can share with families who are, I'd say, earlier in their journey, right? Like think back to like when the reality of becoming not just mom and dad, but medical mom and dad became your reality. Yeah. And like that changes things. There's no question about it, right? It's not what anybody ever plans for. So what we want to start the conversation around right now is just actually focus on the positives. I think it's really easy for people to look at all the things that they think they're doing wrong or the things that aren't going right, they need to improve on. And we just kind of burden ourselves with that guilt and /shame, just too much negativity, but it's really easy to fall into that trap. So I would like to just like hear from your all's perspective. What do you two both, you can both answer individually or together. Like, what are you two proud of that you guys did to take care of your marriage throughout this, the last 11 years? And maybe it's something that you're doing now, whatever feels right to you to answer.
I think one of the things over the last 11 years, I guess, that we've
been married 15.
But I guess I was just thinking.
But medical parents 11. Yeah.
It was really unique, I think, what we are doing with when things were getting really difficult and very scary. We would it may be simplified things or all the noise kind of just went away. We had a primary focus, like a guiding light of just, safety for Bella and managing Waylon, and everything else just kind of disappeared. And we were able to just focus on the priority at the time. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny because we would always go through these chaotic times, and then we get home, and then it would become, you would expect it to be a lot simpler, but then we would almost have more problems because you kind of lose that little, that absolute easy goal. Like there's no other singular focus is gone. And then you got a million other things pulling away at you in directions. And so I was kind of proud that we were able to always snap out of it and realize what was going on and focus on what needed to be done.
Yeah. There was a lot of times where we would, yes, it's scary. There were scary moments and frustrating moments getting pulled back into hospital when you don't expect it. It was just like you drop everything and go back in. And that was so frustrating on so many levels. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we learned to lean on what we didn't have to do while there and take that as a break, right? Like I'm not full nursing duty at home. I have some of that weight lifted by being in hospital. And then back home, Lyle has some of that weight being lifted by not physically seeing his like burnt out, stressed out, exhausted wife 24/7. Right. But then when we did come home, we had that bit of break. We could get our strength back. Bella felt good. We'd come home. Then we're pushed back into those medical roles, like acute medical roles on our own without, the reassurance and the RN right beside us or the physicians, like they were now a phone call away instead of down the hallway. And so we really learned how to balance the stress of both situations. And it took a while. It wasn't fast. And so I think what was really important in that in the beginning was, thankfully, when we were balancing, resentment versus wait a minute, they have a load on their plate too, just because they're not going through what I'm going through. It took us a while, but once we were able to balance that, then we were much more equipped to take these hospital stays and new medical treatments at home easier together.
Wow. That's really, I don't know if you two realize, like that's really powerful to share. Ashley and I just recently had a chance to record a seminar with a marriage therapist who has spent 25 years focused on families who have children with medical needs, all types of severities. And there's she's like a unicorn therapist. There's very few of those who exist. Yeah. And one of the things that she like really honed in on was the resentment dance that so many couples fall into.
It's a
And
dance. Yeah.
right. And what I'm
Yeah.
hearing from you too is that you acknowledge, like recognize that resentment was taking place at times. And yet you allowed yourselves to align on the top priorities together.
Yeah.
And be okay letting other things like fall away, because if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. And I think that's really hard for us sometimes. Like somebody will feel really strongly about these things that need to be taken care of, and somebody will feel really strongly about these other things. But it sounds like you two had found a way to come together and realize, okay, together, as long as these are happening or being taken care of, the rest just simply don't matter as much. And am I interpreting that correctly?
Definitely, because I was gonna say, like, Lyle was kind of
You're absolutely right. That's exactly it. Yeah.
You're okay, because in the beginning I just found, like, for myself, like as the wife and the medical mom, I found things would get worse for me if I just had this resentment wheel continuing in my head, where it's like, okay, he's not seeing physically the amount of pain Bella's going through 24/7 because he's not the one in hospital with her. And I would stop myself and think, okay, that mindset, yes, that is fact. That is what I'm going through right now. But I need to remind myself, he is a dad who loves his kids, loves his daughter. And this is also painful for him because he doesn't get to be there. He's at home. He doesn't get to see her first steps. He doesn't get to see her, the happy, the smiles and the giggles. He has to hear about the pain from miles away. And that would always just snap me back from like that resentment wheel that continued in my head so much, because I was just so exhausted and so tired of always being the one to see her in pain. And then there would always be something else to balance it out. And I needed to remind myself that. And then thankfully, I have a husband who's willing to sit down and talk to me and recognize, okay, like, you're home now and you're running her IVs and you're changing her ostomy and you're taking care of her G-tube. All of this stuff that you got trained for, I didn't get trained for. Now you have to spend the energy training me to do it so I can at least give you a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break. And he was willing to do that, and then I would recognize, okay, he's also exhausted from his full-time job, taking care of our acreage, driving hours and hours or flying hours and hours just to see us for a weekend. So as long as I could remind myself to balance that out, then I found the resentment like dissipate, because I knew that would just break us apart. And I saw with my own eyes in hospital how freaking hard that was for single parents in hospital. And I didn't ever want to get to that point. I'm like, no matter how much I hate him right now, I need him.
No, you're so right. Like, I think that's so hard to do what you did. And I admire you for that. We were in and out of the hospital with my daughter a lot too. And a lot of times very unexpected for weeks or longer at a time. And I was always the one that took her. And it's like my whole life got uprooted and I would go out of town and I'm missing my, older child that's home. And, my husband was at home with her doing whatever they were doing. And it was hard for me to remind myself, like, he wants to be here too. And he doesn't want the situation, but I was the one there. And that's hard to remind yourself of that when you're in it. So I'm impressed and admire that you were able to do that. And it's such a good reminder for everyone in it now, because that slope is slippery for sure. And once you get too far on that wheel of resentment, it's hard to turn it the other way. It's doable for sure, but it's definitely hard to do that. So I think that's a good reminder for all of us that try to find that silver lining, or not even a silver lining always, but like remind yourself what the other person's going through too.
Yeah. Like really strive. Yeah. I think striving for that perspective is, it's like you said earlier, it's a dance. And I think what helped teach me to get better at that dance was living in hospital with my child. Like, we had some major long-term stays, like our first one being 2 years straight. I would see, Bella's first year in hospital, I came to know parents that lost their kid. Like there was 10 friends in the first year of her life that didn't get to go home. And so I always had that perspective of someone who had it worse.
Mhm.
And so it always reminded me to add, like, use that in my own situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it
Lyle,
could always
I'm
be worse.
curious.
Yeah.
Lyle, I want to give you a moment to respond to what Kyla said, like because one of the things I'm more curious about is the father/husband perspective, because I feel like in the medical parent community, there's a ton of focus on the moms, the wives.
Mhm.
And I'm curious from your perspective, like what made it possible for you to experience Kyla's, we'll say, some of that less than positive feelings that would come about from just the experience of exhaustion. How were you able to process that and not hold it against her?
Well, don't get me, like, don't hear what I'm not saying. It's a medical mom for a reason. Like it was worse for you going through that, being in hospital. Like that's not me at home. It's not the same. But it's unfortunate circumstance, and it's very typical circumstances that, the mom does go into the hospital. She's the caregiver. That's sort of it. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's relationships that I would say it's just more common,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And it is more difficult. It's a really hard path. And I think knowing that and admitting that, and like you hearing that from me, is helpful, at least recognizing that you are the one that's sleeping on the couch. You're not the one that gets to be home, and really managing that resentment towards me, it would be wild because it's justified. Honestly, yeah, it's not great for me either, but I mean, it's just, I guess, just being a realist, someone has to be doing these
Mhm.
things while someone else has to be doing these other things. And if I can at least give you breaks from that,
Yeah.
that would be basically the most, and giving you breaks, but also making that, no, this stuff is all handled. You don't have to worry about anything else but your daughter right now while you're in hospital. So just don't muddy the waters, keep things clear. And I think that really helped us. I don't know if that's answering your question.
I think
No,
so.
totally. I think you did.
Yeah.
But it was, I felt bad for you. And I still do, is knowing that, like, being here, taking care of, our business, my other job,
Mhm.
and as well, Waylon, but it was not as, I mean, it just trying to take things off your back, really, is how I looked at it. And that's making it simple for you to be where you were with the priority.
Yeah. And as a mom, a medical mom's perspective, for me, honestly, I just need to hear that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just him
Just be
saying that, that's
recognized.
what, yeah, 100%. And we have, we started this medical journey with Bella in 2013. The family center care in the hospital has grown immensely since then. Because I've always said, our first year in hospital was horrible because that wasn't in place. And as I saw that grow, and as I helped our medical teams understand that, the supports for me while I was away from Lyle also grew. And so I think
I think you also
better
grew.
now.
You just became more of an advocate, and you started to realize, I need to speak up for myself. I need to say I need these things so that I can help manage the care of my daughter while we're in hospital. So, they might just not have been accessible because you didn't know.
Yeah.
Really, you can, and most people would come in not being an advocate or not recognizing that they needed to be that person while they're there. They just thought, well, the doctor knows best. The nurse knows best.
Right.
And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you have to learn how to advocate for yourself in the hospital too. I had a doctor pull me aside one day when we were in the PICU. It was a really long stint. And he was like, get out of this room for 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't care what you do, but please step away from this room. And I was like, you're supposed to be taking care of my daughter, Maren. Like, what are you doing? And he was like, you can't fight for her if you're like, and like depleted in every sense of the word. And he was so right. And, 30 minutes or 10 minutes wouldn't have done much, but it was just such a good reminder. But you don't know when you're going into that situation the first time that you have to advocate for yourself too and what you need. Like, to be more comfortable, which is a joke in the hospital, but or whatever it is that you needed, like that's something you don't think about when you're in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Ashley, you want to bring in the next one?
Yeah. So one thing we thought that would be kind of interesting is, obviously y'all have lived a lot of life in 11 years. Knowing what you know now, what's something that you wish you could go back and say to yourselves, back then when you were starting out?
I think when we were starting, like when we first had Bella and we first got thrown into the PICU and that life, one of the big things would just to know now, I mean, maybe not with her knowing her death and everything, but just knowing that things are going to get better. There's going to be bright moments no matter what. And even when we were in hospital for a straight year, it's like, is this just going to be the rest of her life? Which it wasn't. Luckily, we had amazing moments outside of hospital, and just knowing that there were going to be, even in the hospital, there's going to be amazing moments to come. You can have those moments no matter where you are. So when we're better, and I still have amazing moments while we were living in hospital.
Yeah.
So even though it seemed awful and we were stuck there and you're getting resentful of the entire world around you, you could still, there's still opportunity in this hospital room.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say very much the same thing. I would tell myself, this is not going to be forever. She is going to get out of here, and she's going to have moments at home that are going to be everything that she would want, that I would want. And the happiness is going to be 100% for her whole life long. And she will show you what joy means, no matter how hard life is. Yeah.
Wow. That's really
That is beautiful.
I mean that very sincerely.
Yeah.
And you all have demonstrated those two things every step that you've shared her story. And I see you all doing it now on Beyond Brave. You're still sharing that. And that right there is such a big part of reminding us that hope is always available, and hope is not a result to me.
Right.
Hope is a mindset. It is okay, today might be awful, but at some point, if I can hold hope that we will have moments that make us smile and laugh, we will have bright days here and there. And no matter how many there are, whenever they happen, their value will still be just as immense to us and important, and yes. And I know that that's something that, I kind of had to learn to hold on to throughout our journey. Cause I mean, there were days where it's like, I told my husband when we were in the hospital the first time, I was like, it is the movie Groundhog's Day, but from hell. I was like, it is like the same thing over and over, but like with like in the hell setting is what it feels like. I know what to expect, and it keeps happening, and I keep trying to change it, but like this is just how it is for now. And it wasn't until the first time when we went home and I had some time away from it that I looked back and I was like, but no, there were moments that were better than others, right? And we did get out of that loop of Groundhog's Day from hell. And just having that to hold on to was something that I was able to bring into like our next hospital stay, our next surgery, just that simple lesson. Okay. Man, you guys are really, I knew this was going to be good, but I'm like kind of geeking out how much I'm loving this conversation. So thank you. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it too.
Yeah, no, I love this because it really gives it's easier to give insight into memories and experiences like this when we're asked, like in the interview format. So like, thanks for thinking of this, because I think it would be harder for Lala to sit down and be like, okay, let's talk about this part of our marriage and this part of our marriage. So it's nice that you can give.
It wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen. Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah. So this is good.
Oh my goodness. Well, good. Well, then I think, okay, awesome. So
yeah, I don't know if people understand. Kyla and I don't just sit down and chat for an hour. Like, we're not that, like we would normally have our phones.
Right. Okay, thank you for bringing.
So you are a normal couple.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We do talk once.
Okay,
an hour.
everybody heard it. It is official. As awesome as they are, phones are still in the picture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love that. I remember. Okay, I have to share this quick story because that just totally made me think of it. So the first big hospital stay that was just hell. Emery almost died due to a couple accidental human errors. Like, you know, it was not supposed to happen, and I was shook. Like, just. Whereas my husband was like able to look at it like, okay, that was awful, but it didn't she wasn't killed in that moment as we were watching. So I'm okay. Like, we're okay. And I was like, and all I could think was, what if this happened? Like, what's the next thing that's going to happen that could cause this? Because I didn't think that was something that was even possible in our story. And so, you know, that's how he was coping, and he wasn't wrong for thinking that way, but I was justified too for being scared. We just weren't seeing that at the time. And I remember talking to Emily, who's is the co-founder of Parent Empowerment Network. I remember telling her, I was like, so the doctors are like doing rounds, and it was at the end of the rounds, and I look over and Andy's on his phone and he's looking at shoes. My husband has like a shoe obsession. And when I say shoes, like tennis shoes, like he's that guy. I'm not kidding. I think last time I counted, there was like 35 pair of tennis shoes in our closet. And I'm not afraid to out him about that. It is his thing. I have like 8 pair of shoes, like whatever. I like tried and trusted when it comes to those.
That's like Lyle with his hockey draft. He'll be on his phone, hockey draft, group chat. And I'm like, listen, talking to you.
Well, right. But like in that moment where I was in my head, like when I saw him doing that, I was like, he doesn't care about our daughter. He does not care what's going on. Like, I mean, I was real calm about this, but I'm like talking, like, I thank God I had the good sense to go talk to my friend about it first before I bit his head off. And she was like, look, she's like, I get it. She said, I remember this time that her husband, she said, we were sitting by her isolate in the NICU, and I look over and she said, you know, I've been making notes about next steps and things that are going to happen so I don't forget. And I look over and he's looking at hunting knives. And I remember thinking, I want to stab you with one of those right now. But she also had time to process and realize this is just him diffusing his own situation. Like, he's needing to kind of let his own steam off. Like, he's trying to, you know, this is his way to regulate himself. He needs a little bit of break from the immense pressure. She's like, so don't look at it as he doesn't care. Look at it as him trying to just relieve a little bit of that pressure that's inside and disconnect for a moment. And that's not actually a bad thing. We could actually probably learn from it. And I will say that probably saved, I wouldn't say our marriage, but it definitely saved his life in that moment. Because I was like totally ready to go back up and be like, Emily said that you were so wrong. And
would you agree, Lyle?
I think in a lot of those moments, because I was the same guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we would get in the hospital, and once things were less of a calamity, yeah, I'm just laying on the couch waiting for
I feel like
a task or something to make myself feel useful.
Yeah.
If you're not, I mean, what am I supposed to be doing here right now? You guys are just, we're all just sitting here sort of thing at the time of the hospital.
Rounds. Well, I think
and you kind of, you definitely, I don't know, maybe, I think a lot of men do the same thing. They kind of disconnect in those moments because they're not adding any value to the situation and give me something to do. Sort of.
Yeah. I think also you found a hack to that situation.
What was that?
I think there's a dad hack there. I remember because I was like, okay, no, I need you in this round conversation because at that point I was exhausted and I was worried my memory wouldn't hold it all. No matter how fast I took the notes or if I had told the doctors to, you know, give me a written summary later, which some of them would, I preferred having Lyle there just to hear it. So like he could be my memory bank. Yeah. But prior to that, when I wasn't feeling that way and Lyle knew, you know, every morning, like rounds and with rare disease and Bella's like curveballs all the time, it was like, no, you needed to be there every morning and have that conversation with them so things would get done for your child that day. And Lyle would kind of hype me up. He'd be like a hype man and be like, oh, you're so good. The way you talk to the doctors, the way you ask them the questions and you get the information that you need for that day. He's like, you're so good at that. And so he kind of like hype me up and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do rounds and I'm going to get things done. And this is going to happen for Bella today. And then he'd be like, you know, he'd like, okay, I did my job. I can go sit and scroll on my phone and check my draft. So then I'd be like, I'd go to these rounds like all like pumped up instead of like, why aren't you here? Get over here right now.
Right.
You
But
know?
that's
I
actually
love
really,
that.
that is actually super smart. Like, because that shows like, wow, like you are recognizing and showing appreciation at the same time for what she's doing.
Yeah.
And so she, like Kyla, you were able to feel supported.
Yeah.
Rather than like abandoned, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I think sometimes that's how far we jump in our heads. Like, oh,
yeah.
you weren't there for the conversation.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That
That's
only lasts
awesome.
for so long, but then like when things slow down or calm down, it's like, oh, it's just another boring rounds. Nothing's gonna come. Like, and a lot of our hospital stays were kind of like the waiting game. We were just
Yeah.
Yeah.
waiting for things to improve a little bit. We know nothing's gonna change with their care, you know, after
Right.
and that's what it was. You know, there'd be a week of calamity upon admission, and then it'd be a month of just like
Trial
the
and
waiting.
error.
And you'd see me
waiting.
kind of start after like 5-6 days, just start pacing.
Oh
around, like,
gosh, the way
hey
you
Lyle,
were-
just get out of here. Like, go home.
Do I have to be
But then
here?
that's the thing. I'm not adding any value anymore. I know I can get these things done at home. And it's selfish. Yeah, I'm the one that wants to kind of get out of here. But it's
Bella and I would
unfortunate
get-
that you got stuck in that way. But
Well, you know, sometimes on the good longer stays, like Bella and I would get in a routine, and you kind of get in there,
I
throw a
definitely
little
was
wrench in there.
disruptive. Yeah.
But-
Like, I'm in your guys' way. I know, I feel it. And Paul would say the same thing. She's like, we have a good thing going here. Because Bella would know, like, and half the time when I'd show up for, you know, 4 days over the weekend or something like that,
Yeah.
she'd, oh, mom's going to be gone now. She's going to be taking breaks. And
She
then
hated it when
Oh.
I leave, and you just sit there, watch like baseball, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I gotta watch baseball." And that mom could be playing games with me. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad, but it was kind of funny at times because I felt bad for you because sometimes Bella would be like, "Mom, I don't want you to leave." I'm like, "You haven't seen your dad in 2 weeks."
the kids again. Like,
But
So it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
yeah.
And maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something that we could all like remind ourselves that, like, I think sometimes we're trying to like seek out this, you know, like it should be equal, it should be shared. But reality is sometimes that's not actually the best situation. And
Right.
I'm appreciating hearing like, Lyle saying like, I'm not really providing value here. And I'm appreciating Kyla saying, yeah, there were times you really weren't. You were just kind of in the way because we had our thing down. But that also shows like a trust and a respect for your roles in your relationship. You don't have to be doing the same things to both be supportive and involved. And I think that's something I know I've lost sight of before. Like, you're not as involved in this and this and this and this, and start to hold it over his head. When in reality, it's like, okay, but do I even want him to do that? No, not really, because I know how to do it and I'm damn good at it. So I'm just like, let him go do where he feels like he's providing value. And maybe sometimes we need to clarify what that means. Like, like redoing our closet isn't something I was necessarily worried about,
Right.
Maybe that's not the most helpful at this moment, but like, making sure Cole's still getting his homework done and he's getting to his events and stuff, like taking care of him, like that is extremely needed. And I can't do that while I'm in the hospital with her. So that was a really helpful dynamic that you two just shared. It was very honest of you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would feel uncomfortable admitting that.
yeah.
Admitting I'm an awful person.
No. But I have
How
to
could
say,
you
like, so when you started saying, like, Kyla describing him as like your hype man and like really like encouraging you, I was like, I see the Ted Lasso. Like, it's all really coming together for me now.
I gotta watch
Like,
this show sometime.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched it.
You haven't watched it? Oh my gosh.
I've watched
yes,
like an
you do.
episode or two, and I love. Honestly, Kyla's more like Ted Lasso. The few episodes I've seen, that's Kyla. Actually,
Well, it is, but that's why you should stick with it, because I think you'll be
Yeah.
surprised. You'll start to see more of yourself in there than
Yeah.
Oh,
you
okay.
think, because that's how he presents himself
Oh,
to
really?
the world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
need to get on the
definitely
show.
missed it.
You
haven't
need
watched
to, more than the first couple episodes. Yeah, because Andy,
Yeah.
my husband, he like checked out after episode 2. He's like,
Yeah.
this guy's like way too obnoxiously happy for me. He's like, I just can't. And I was like,
And there's
okay.
something
And then I
way
watched
deeper
it.
there.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh.
oh. Yeah,
Good.
you'll
Cool.
like it. Okay, so I know we're already at like an hour mark, so like I don't want to like I'm having so much fun with this conversation, but I don't want to take
That's
too
fine.
much more of your time. I think so. I know we had talked about saying like we want to dive into the dad's perspective, but I think we should save that for another conversation because we want to dive into that more deeply. I don't want to rush it. So Ashley,
No,
I was
me
kind of
neither.
thinking it
Yeah.
makes sense to like let's end this on like just a really positive, powerful note. And I think it'll also too will make sure that we're leaving your marriage in good shape at the end of this conversation. I'll feel good about that. So
Don't worry. You can leave it anyway. I'll mess it up a little bit.
okay, good. Pressure is off.
I love the idea. I love the idea of like a sequel to this one because I know
Yes.
the focus you want to go with for
Yes.
medical dads, and knowing the conversations we can have, I think that'll be like another hour.
Yeah.
So,
I think it totally will. So that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? Like, let's
Yeah.
let a good thing be a good thing on its own, and let's create space for the other thing to be. So to be continued, folks.
Yes.
But so last question. Let's end it on this.
Okay.
Kyle, your guy's celebrity
There you
name is just Lila, isn't it?
I'm
Lila, I don't know. Anyway, Lyle, I want you to answer first because you've been so respectful, and every time you've told Kyla, like, you can go first. So I'm going to ask you to go first this time.
Yeah, it's kind of a cop out to say you go first.
I was
really.
going
I
to
know
say,
it
I
is.
was like,
That's
I
why I'm
think
putting
he
you
was
on
by
the
the
spot.
side.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, nope, spotlight's on you. Okay. I would like for you to look at Kyla in the eyes and tell, I'm kidding. No, you don't have to do that unless you want to do it.
Right on.
But
I was ready.
what I want you to tell us, and therefore tell Kyla, what is something that you want her to know that you appreciate about her as being the mom to both Bella and Waylon throughout your journey? What is something you want her to hear today that maybe you think she might not realize, or you're like, I could probably say this more?
Aw.
I think the biggest thing I appreciate about you is, well, not the biggest thing I appreciate, but one of the most important things and the best thing you've done is create a legacy for Bella, be the storyteller. And with where things are at now and with our grief, just having somebody, you've created I don't know how to say it right. It would feel very empty and lonely without you and with what you've done, and create this opportunity to do a podcast and share her legacy, because without that, it would feel a lot more empty right now. So, and that's not something I did. That's something you created. And it's really saving like my life, you doing that for us.
Oh, that was really good. Are we all crying?
Yeah.
Right
Lyle's, it's going to be a big hair night. Just saying.
now? Oh,
That was
was
really
really
awesome. That was
sweet.
really
that
beautiful.
was genuine.
Yeah. And I mean, every
Yeah.
bit of it.
And you can
without-
tell.
it would be a very lonely, empty space, just if we didn't have what you created.
Okay, I'm going to give you a second there, Kyla, because
Yeah.
I personally need one. But
Yeah.
when you're ready,
Thanks,
can you
honey.
please reciprocate to Lyle what you want him to know that you appreciate about him as the father of your children and throughout your journey?
Good luck.
I know. Damn. Kind of
Right?
dropped the mic there, didn't he?
Maybe I should have went second again. Yeah.
I 100% appreciate the way that you bring me to a place where I can laugh. You bring me to a place where I can feel reassured with everything you do, that you say, the way you are with Waylon, the way you've been the best dad with Bella, the way you understand me at points where I don't ever have to question it. Even before we've had kids, the way you've made me feel and the way you've treated me and the way you've understood me is something that it's all I've ever wanted. And I have that with you. And I am thankful every day for you. I know I could not do this life without you. And Waylon and Bella have the absolute best dad they could ever have in this entire world and universe.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this was the
I sometimes-
best.
I know.
That's so sweet.
That's really good to hear. 'Cause I mean, I do sometimes doubt. I mean, I don't think every dad would their abilities and how I'm just not the same as you parenting and style. And like, yeah, I'm the kind of not overbearing, but the strict, harsh dad. And you kind of, when you're in that role, you're not always the one making the kids smile, and you kind of doubt yourself. But it's nice to hear that. I guess it's kind of, always opposite. Like, we just play off each other well.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you
Thank
both for, I mean, this wasn't a test, but if it were, you aced it. I mean, but most sincerely, thank you for being so honest with us and open with us. Cause like I said at the beginning, I kind of looked at you two and I was like, they've got it all figured out. They've been smooth sailing in their marriage, their relationship, and you all really dug deep and normalized the fact that a lot of relationships are made of people who are very different, and that you all have shown what can transpire when you commit to using those differences to your advantage and not to letting them tear you apart. I feel like the way I want to end this is, so I know I talked about that Dr. Marshak, who we did a recording with, will be sharing soon, because we want to start helping other couples find ways to strengthen their marriage, protect their marriage, because that honestly has such an impact. Like the best healthcare in the world only goes so far if the marriage relationship, the mom and dad and the home relationship is falling apart. So we want to help others find ways to, make that a little easier to navigate. And the way that Dr. Laura ended our conversation was with a quote. It was actually from a dad. He said, when you're in the storm, which is what you get thrown into, and I love the simplicity of this, the dumbest thing you can do is hack away at the boat you're riding in, which is basically your marriage. The last thing you should do is turn on each other when you're in the storm, because you will sink. And there was just, to me, that was just so powerful, because it's so easy to unintentionally fall into that trap. And if instead we look at it as, look, we got to ride this storm out together. Like, that is the only way we all get through this. Just having that mindset can just so greatly impact how you ride through the storm, right? How you get to the other side of things, you make it to shore. So today you all really stood in as an awesome lighthouse for relationships. And you're so beautifully shining Bella's light from that lighthouse. And it's an honor to watch what you all are doing. And thank you for sharing your family with us, your marriage with us today, and for sharing Bella's light with us, because it has not gone out. It's just keeps getting brighter, and I don't see that changing anytime in the future. So with that, I'm going to stop. I might go cry a little bit and watch a chick flick, because this was just like a really good, awesome episode.
I'm really excited. Thank you guys. Thank you for making this happen, for asking these valuable questions that are going to be so helpful to both of our audiences. The medical parents out there that are still fighting this fight with their kiddos. It's just so meaningful for them. So thank you for setting this up and making that happen.